Welcome in. It is great to be back. This is the Extra Point podcast with the college football experience. We're the college football experience. My name is Gus. That's my brother in law and co host, Will. Man, I'm excited to be back. There's been so much going on in college football, but we've been gone. We've been on vacation and we just took a little break. There's so much that's been happening in our personal lives and in the world of college football, man. We've been going through it, and y'all will hear all about that, man. Will, how you been doing, man? It's been a while since I've seen your face, man. Like a couple days.
Yeah. Hey, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be back. Glad we're getting a chance to do this show this week. Like you said, there's been a bunch going on with college football, and we had some crazy stuff that happened with us too last week. But dude, college football is
It's right around
almost
the
here,
corner.
man. Dude, a month or not really? 4 weeks from this Saturday?
Like a month and a half ish.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude.
So
I can feel it. It's hot. We're in the dog days of summer, dude.
yeah,
Just
terrible.
just like we were talking about earlier. It is sweltering. But kind of before we start getting rolling on all of the content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube at the College Football Experience. You can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts the next day. We're doing really good on TikTok. That's probably our most up and coming platform where Will's killing it with the funny TikToks. You can catch little snippets of the show there. And we're on Instagram as well, all at the College Football Experience. And you will want to be following us there when we start making our campus videos in the fall. Super excited about that. Man, we need to talk about what happened last week. We kind of had a change of plans because
Yeah.
we had to deal with SeatGeek. We kind of went to war with them, and it was like a 3-day debacle on our seats for the Penn State Ohio State game. Borderline false advertisement. It was kind of a scam. Will, get the story started, man, because it's going to be a little second with this story.
Yeah, so me and Gus, we've been wanting to go see Ohio State for a long time. We marked them on our calendar to be our first one to go to. Um, Me and Gus were talking back and forth. We were looking on different websites, and I found SeatGeek, and I noticed they kind of had some cheaper seats. And I started looking at the pictures, like everybody does, I'm sure, in America. And and I sending Gus the pictures of the seats that
I'm
we're
like,
going to
oh
go sit
man, these
on.
are great.
Yeah, and we found some for a good price. And we thought, man, these are going to be perfect. We're going to be kind of diagonal. We're going to be able to see the stadium, or I mean, see the whole field, see the scoreboard. It'll be a great little view. So a few weeks go by, we get our seats, and I notice our tickets say limited view at the top. And that's weird because
Yeah.
the picture I saw, it doesn't have anything blocking me.
Nope. Crystal clear view of the field, crystal clear view of the student section. You could see both end zones. You could see the scoreboard. Perfect.
Yeah, so I contact Gus and I'm like, "Hey man, we got to do something about this."
We need to
So
check
we
these out.
so I started researching where the section was and where the seat was, and I noticed a ginormous brick wall will be blocking our view of the whole stadium. Like you can't even see half the field. And I texted him jokingly and I was like, "Man, I'm going to be so mad if these are our seats, dude." And he was like, "There's no way those are our seats."
Dude, I honestly thought you had bought the wrong seats. Like that's how bad it was. I thought for like just a quick second, I was like, Will didn't buy the seats. I told him to buy. He cheaped out. But then I was like, no, these are the seats. SeatGeek just sucks. They're
Yeah.
terrible. They lie. And when we bought them on the app, because we specifically bought them on the app, they didn't say that the seats were in obstructed view. So then I'm furious. I'm furious. So we call SeatGeek. We get Tony, a great customer service representative, and we do some digging and we have to explain everything to him. And then he's like, "Yeah, this is wrong." So then we keep going, and they get in contact with the seller, and all we want is our money back, and all we want is to get some new seats because we want to go to this game.
Yep.
But then lo and behold, they get us up to a supervisor, and then we get to the supervisor, and then tell them what happened. Well,
Yeah, I think Gus got to talk to a supervisor, got put on hold for an hour, I think twice. I got
mhm.
put on hold for a while, and then finally I was like, man, I'm tired of this. So it's either going to be either this is going to happen or it's not. And they kind of called my bluff on a few things that I was saying to them, and ultimately told me no. And they told me to get over it and just to resell the tickets. So that's essentially what I did. Luckily, somebody purchased them really quick. We were the cheapest tickets on Ticketmaster, so we kind of knew we were going to get those sold. And a bunch of jerks on Twitter, Ohio State fans, were like, "At least you're going to be in the stadium." Oh
No,
yeah, okay. Well, I'm not going to be able
shut
to see the
up.
game.
Shut up.
I mean,
Bro.
at least if I was on the other side, I could watch on the scoreboard.
Right.
But
And those people don't understand. If you can't see half the game, what's the
well,
point in going?
yeah,
That's like sitting at home on your couch and half of your TV screen being black. And
yeah.
then you aren't able to see half of the game.
Dude,
And
honestly, it's highway robbery to even sell those tickets to the
yes, dude,
public, man. I
that
mean,
was what I was about to say. Shame on Ohio
who
State.
what average person wants to sit there? Like,
No
I
one.
I look up older games to see if people sit up there, and like most of their games, nobody sits right there.
Right.
It's just the big games like the Penn State game, Michigan game that people sit there.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm glad I'm not gonna have to sit there anymore.
Yes.
I hate that we can't go to that game or we're not going anymore because we're just kind of pissed at Ohio State, and which is not
Screw
their fault.
SeatGeek.
Why we in
No,
SeatGeek?
it 100% the root cause is that Ohio State sells those tickets. Screw Ohio State, screw the Big 10,
Yeah,
just saying, "Oh, we have the top 3 biggest stadiums in all of college football." Yeah, it's cuz you have seats like that.
yeah.
That's why.
So
Just disgusting.
we discussed a list of games, and we decided to choose Gus's arch nemesis,
Ugh.
the Crimson Tide,
We're going.
Alabama. We're
Oh, we're
going to the
going.
third Saturday in October, the
Oh,
Tennessee game.
we're
Probably
smoking a
gonna be
cigar either way.
yeah, dude. I mean,
Who
I think me or you, we don't
whoever
have
wins.
a dog in the fight, so
No.
we're gonna have fun, man. We got a place to stay already. We got our tickets,
Oh, yeah.
and we make sure there's not gonna be a huge wall in our way or a
Nope.
post or something crazy. So it seems like what a lot of y'all don't know. It seems like something always happens with me and Gus. Everywhere we go, something happens. Something stops us from doing something. I mean, the first ever college football game we tried to go to, a hurricane hit. So we tried to
And
go on a trip last summer, and we were
it
going to go whitewater rafting down a river and camp out for a few days, and that got blown up the day we were there.
dude,
Traveled across the country.
dude, whenever this was going on, I had a specific line that really made us just die laughing for about 3 to 4 minutes. I I was like, "We are either some of the most unfortunate people in the world, or we are some of the stupidest
Yeah,
people." And it's a combination of both.
definitely a little bit of both because we definitely probably should do a little better research on the Ohio State seats, but
Well, you just
it
live
is
and
what it.
yep,
Yep.
you just live and you learn to buy your tickets on a computer.
Yeah.
Don't buy them through the app. Man,
Well, they need to have their app like Ticketmaster.
yeah.
I mean, good lord, just show the real pictures.
Yep. And then all problems would be solved, man. Now, kind of switching gears, diving into actual college football stuff. Man, some big news kind of breaking the other day and the day before, and kind of today too. Colorado going back home to the Big 12 starting in 2024, leaving the Pac 12 in shambles. They're going to be getting the full TV deal. I think it's like $31.2 million
Yeah.
per season, which is big. And the reason they're getting that is because they're a Power Five team coming in. So that's big, man. And even though Colorado's not really a big team and they're not like that good, they're going to become better. And this is just kind of another nail in the coffin for the Pac 12 because with both the LA teams leaving and Colorado leaving, that just kind of puts the whole conference on uneven footing, even more than they already were. And they still don't have the TV deal. Man, I don't think the Pac 12 is going to be around for much longer, which sucks to say.
Yeah, there's rumors going around about where Oregon might go next. They might be the next team. But dude, I hate college football expansion, dude. I just want to start
It's
off by saying that
it's disgusting.
dude, money's kind of running this industry right now, and when you got money running your industry, eventually this will explode. And I hate to see that for college football because it is our favorite sport. It's the best sport in the world right now
Right.
with, just all the tradition and stuff. But back to Colorado, I think this is a good move for them personally.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's an excellent fit for them. They've already been in the Big 12
For a
with
long time.
Oklahoma and Texas leaving, and Colorado can jump in there, and they're recruiting pretty decently. I mean, they're recruiting just as good as anybody right now in the Big 12
Yep.
besides those two teams. Um, Dude, they can jump in there and compete right away, man.
Yeah.
Um, don't know if they can win the conference right away going in there, but they can definitely compete and jump in there and maybe go to the conference championship within the first 3 years of being in there.
That
Like
kind of
this move. I like this move better than the other two, like USC and them going to the Big Ten and Oklahoma and Texas coming to the SEC. Those just kind of were weird and are going to be odd to get used to. But this is just kind of seems old school to me, just kind of getting
yeah.
back to their roots. So
I
it'll
mean,
be it'll be fun to see.
the Oklahoma and Texas move to the SEC, that fits a little bit more than the two LA schools to the Big 12. But kind of like you were saying, Colorado's coming home. They
Yeah.
really should have never left the Big 12. And I mean, it just feels right. But yeah, just kind of like you were saying on teams that could possibly flake from the Pac 12 next. I mean, of course, everyone's going to want Oregon because they have the Nike money. They're the biggest brand that will be left. Then, of course, everyone's going to want Washington. But what conferences are going to want them? It'll probably be the Big 12 and the Big 10. I could see those schools being more of a Big 10 team just because of their academics. And the Big 12, the Big 10 will need partners travel partners for USC and UCLA. But the teams that I want to keep an eye on are the other four corner schools, both of the Arizona schools and Utah. There's really word that if any of those schools is going to join Colorado, it's going to be Arizona just because they want to get into that market with Arizona. And I know this is a college football show, but they want to focus on the Big 12 kind of becoming a basketball conference too, to kind of keep them tied to the SEC and the Big 10 whenever it becomes the Big 2 or the Big 3 conferences. And there was word of them looking at adding UConn for football
Ooh,
and for basketball. Yeah, just because they're
I
such a
guess because the
good
basketball, yeah, the
yes,
basketball program is so good.
right.
Well, are they
And
independent right
it kind
now?
of
UConn?
I think they are independent for football, but they're
Yeah,
Big
for
East
football.
in
Yeah,
basketball.
Big East in basketball. Yep.
Yeah,
Dude,
so bring them in, and they were talking about getting Gonzaga just for basketball.
I mean,
So to kinda
what does like Utah do if they don't get picked up? I mean, they're a great football program right now.
they'll end up getting picked up, but it might not happen right away, but they'll end up getting picked up for sure. I mean, they're too big of a brand. Arizona State's too big of a brand. Oregon and Washington are too big of a brands. The teams that I'm really are worried about are like your Stanford, your Cals, Oregon State, and Washington State. It's like, what are those teams going to do? I think Stanford and Cal should go to the Ivy League. Just play like, don't be an Ivy League school, but just go play football in the Ivy League.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, dude, some of these teams that we might see kind of wither away, or they'll go down to like a G5
That
school
sucks.
because like that's I don't know any other option for them.
Yeah.
Um, it stinks, man. I hope the Pac-12 can somehow work something out, surprise us,
Yeah.
and work out some type of big TV deal. I wish ESPN could work something out with them, man, and we could kind of keep them together
Yeah. And
and make it where nobody else leaves. That's what I would want to see personally.
so let's just toss it out there. If no one else leaves, they're stuck at 9. They'll really need to get back up to 10,
Well, go
12
get Boise
teams.
State. Go get Boise State,
Yeah,
and
you could
like
get
I think
Boise. You get San Diego State, but there's a bunch of contract stuff with San Diego State getting out of the Mountain West. You could get SMU. I for sure know they were looking at SMU really big.
SMU would be a good one. I just think Boise State's been really competitive over so many years.
Hmm.
Like they can kind of compete a little bit. I think this would help them with recruiting wise and stuff. They just
Yeah.
seem like an okay fit with them.
Yeah, they're kind of in that region.
Yeah, they're kind of close. I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's a colder atmosphere, not
Yeah,
that
it's
what
a
what
lot
they're
colder.
used to, but I think that they'd be all right. I mean, Washington gets kind of cold.
Yeah. So does Washington State and Pullman, man. But kind of like you were touching on, you hate these conference expanding. You know how I feel about the playoff expanding. I hate this almost just as much.
I hate this more.
You hate it more?
More, dude. I mean, like I can kind of, I can, I don't like playoff expansion to 12 per se. I like I think that's too much.
Yeah.
But this right here, dude, this will ruin college football totally. I mean, you don't want you don't want teams to be top heavy. Well, dude, if you put it where we have two conferences, I mean,
Yeah.
what? I mean, how are we going to? I mean, if we only have two conferences, then we're only going to have two conference champs. And then you're
That's
going to have a.
gross.
I mean, dude, that's terrible.
I
I
mean,
mean, how are you
it's
going to
kind
be
of
able
getting
to?
based off the NFL at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much. I mean, we're already a semi-pro league at this point with the
Yeah.
money that's going around, but you pretty much are the NFL at that point.
Yeah.
If you get to that point, I just hate to see that so much, dude. I just want to. I wish everything just wasn't based off money, but that's just the way the world is right now, man.
Which stinks. And like just the hyper regionality of college football is just what made it so special. It's like you're playing your teams that are right in your general vicinity. And
Well,
like
you're also been playing teams that you've been playing since like the
forever.
30s. I mean, like
Right.
rivalries are just so important to college football, and what makes it special. It means
So,
more because you've been playing that team for so long, and you just have that bitterness for each other.
yeah.
And people that cheer for that team, and you can give them, you can talk trash to them, and
Yeah.
for 365 days until the next year they might beat you and then they get to talk trash to you, and
Just that constant back and forth. And you're living amongst it. It's just woven into the culture, woven into your daily life. I mean, gosh, there ain't nothing like wearing your team's shirt to church, and then you get called while you're going out. Get that crap off your shirt. Why you come
yeah.
to church with that on your shirt? Jesus would be disappointed.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, goodness gracious. But man, hopefully the Pac-12 can survive for college football's sake, but I don't think they're going to. All right, man. The main reason we're doing this show is to break down the Big 12's win
Mhm.
totals for 2023. Man, we've already done the ACC. We've already done the Pac-12. Now we're moving on to the Big 12, and the first team we're starting out with is the Texas Longhorns. Their over/under is 9.5. Will, I really know you're high on Texas this year. What do you think about the schedule, man? They open with Rice, win. They're
Yeah.
at Alabama, Wyoming, at Baylor, Kansas. They do play Oklahoma. That's a neutral site off week. At Houston, that's a newcomer. Brigham Young at home, Kansas State at home, at TCU, at Iowa, and Texas Tech at home to end the year. Over under 9.5. Where are you going with the
S-
Longhorns?
So, Texas kind of has probably one of the more difficult Big 12 schedules, I would say.
Yeah, it
Um,
isn't easy.
yeah, they go to Alabama. That game is going to be tough in Tuscaloosa.
Hmm.
Alabama just doesn't lose at home, man. It's been a long time since they've lost at home. I think LSU beat them in 2019. That might
Yeah.
be the last time they lost at home. Um, Then a game that scares me, it's later in the year. It's you're gonna think I'm crazy, but that at Iowa State game, Texas somehow can lose to those guys. Loses a game like that late in the year, dude.
Yeah.
That little stretch right there, the Kansas State, that TCU, that Iowa State, the Texas Tech, that little stretch
Hmm.
scares me a little bit.
That's tough.
That's a tough little stretch, and just Texas somehow seems to lose one of these games every year, even though they have more talent. They bring in Quinn Ewers back. They have a pretty good little running back room. This might be one of their most talented defenses they've had in a while.
In a long time.
Um, yeah, this is the first time that they're the favorite in the Big 12 since 2009.
And we all know what happened
Um,
that season.
yeah, they went on to the national championship and they lost to Alabama. So for me, I'm going to be over.
Hmm.
Keep it competitive with Bama. Beat Oklahoma. I think the Oklahoma game is the key game in this schedule. Is beat Oklahoma. If you can beat Oklahoma, I
Hmm.
think you can possibly win out. Don't one of those trap games. You got to get through one of those trap games. And then it'll be interesting to see, Sark's looking for his first 10-win season as a head coach. So I
That's
think he's gonna get it
crazy.
this year. That is
That
crazy.
that's crazy that he has never had a 10-win season as a coach. Yeah, but I'm on the same boat as you. I'm going Texas over. And dude, that game at Iowa State, it gets cold in Ames,
Dude, that's a
Iowa. I
sneaky
mean,
game
it
at the end
gets
of the
so
year.
cold in Iowa.
And watch it be like a noon game, maybe
Ooh, like the field frosted
11.
over.
Yes, and it's been
Ugh,
snowing or something,
that's
or they got
disgusting.
yeah, dude. Watch that game, man. Especially if they're like 9-1 or 8-1.
Mhm.
God, and they're like ranked top 4 in the playoff rankings. Pressure's on. Watch that game, dude. That's gonna be one that because Iowa State's got some issues. We'll talk about them soon. They
Yeah.
might have some guys coming back by then.
Yeah, but kind of like I said, I'm on the over for kind of the same reasons that you are. They're just ultra talented. I mean, they're ultra talented at the skill positions. They're loaded at wide receiver. We have already touched on that on previous shows. And what kind of hurt them last year was quarterback depth. Whenever Quinn Ewers wasn't healthy, Hudson Card played good, but he really couldn't get the job done. Man, they got Malik Murphy. He's an absolute unit. And all 5 of their
Built like a
losses,
linebacker.
dude, you ain't joking. And all 5 of their losses last season were by 1 point, were by 1 score. So we think Texas is going to be better. So they're going to win more of those 1 score games.
Answer a
So
question before we move on to Oklahoma. Are we going to see Arch Manning at all?
no.
Okay,
Well,
I feel the same.
yes,
Well,
but you'll see him in games like Rice.
Rice, we'll
You'll
see
see
him in the
him in
Rice game.
games like Wyoming. You might
Yeah,
see him versus like Houston because Houston's going to
that's
be bad. You
maybe
might
it, dude. You might Rice, dude, because I don't know many games besides that. They're just going to blow the door where the backup only get a drive or two. I
Yeah,
mean, you're gonna
yeah.
want the
I
backup to
don't
get his
think you're
reps
gonna.
too.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna see Arch Manning play any kind of extremely meaningful downs. I mean, the only reason he would be because of injury, but I really
Yeah,
don't see that at all.
yeah,
Moving on to Texas is, I would say, their biggest rival, the
it is.
Oklahoma Sooners. They're at 9.5. Let me get their schedule pulled up. Man, this thing's giving me some ads. Come on. There we go. The Oklahoma Sooner schedule is being slow. Oh, come on, baby. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
2023 Oklahoma Sooner schedule that open up with Arkansas State, SMU, kind of a sneaky game at Tulsa, at Cincinnati, Iowa State, then the Red River Shootout versus Texas off week, UCF at Kansas, at Oklahoma State, West Virginia, at BYU, and TCU to close out the year. I think 9.5, it's a really good number just because this schedule, it is soft.
Yeah,
It's really, really soft, which isn't necessarily their fault because they did schedule Georgia for this season. They get 3 of the 4 newcomers to the Big 12, so that really helps them out. And kind of the same thing that hurt Texas last year, hurt Oklahoma last year too, quarterback depth. Whenever Dylan Gabriel was out and hurt, their offense was abysmal. Was absolutely terrible. And I think they could get better on the defensive side of the ball as well. It just kind of takes some time for Brent Venables to install his scheme on that side of the ball. I mean, this is such a good number. I think it could be 9. I think it could be 10. But just because of the really, really soft schedule, I'm going over 9.5 for the Sooners.
yeah. You're right. The schedule is not very tough. It is hard for me to find 3 losses on this schedule.
Yeah.
If the defense is improves, dude, I could see 10 wins. But this won't be like your a normal 10-win team, I don't think.
No.
Like they could go to a bowl game and play somebody really tough and just get waxed. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as the offense stays like it is, they were a top 10 offense last year. Their defense was absolutely terrible last year. I mean, they were like in the hundreds last year in total defense. Um, Brent Venables doesn't slack off on teaching his scheme. I think this will be a better defense. I think they have a better understanding of the defense.
Mhm.
They recruited very well. They have a great class coming in. Um, as y'all might know, in a previous episode, I drafted Dylan Gabriel as my backup.
It's a bad pick
Uh, yeah, I'm a little scared about that because he has a backup quarterback, Jackson Arnold, who might take his spot. If Dylan gets hurt this year, we might not see him again.
because Jackson Arnold's a boss.
Yeah, and I mean, me and Gus have talked about this. Why not go ahead and put him in there
Right.
and get him ready to go, and that way he can be ready for some SEC ball.
Exactly.
But I'm gonna hit the over on this too, Gus. Just don't see 3 losses. It's hard. That SMU game will be a little fun to watch at the
Oh,
beginning
yeah.
of the year. I could see it being like a 51-30 something game, high scoring, but then Oklahoma kind of pulls away later.
Mhm.
That they get Cincinnati, they're going to be terrible. Iowa State probably going to have suspensions by the first month of the year.
Yeah.
You get UCF at home. You got Texas. I think they're going to lose to Texas. That Kansas game might be a little tricky for them at Kansas. Kansas plays well. That'll be a shootout.
Mhm.
Oklahoma State will be tough, but man, it's hard for me to pick a team to beat them. So I'm hitting the over, but barely.
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 I'm right
10 and
there with
2 is 10 and 2 right here. They might sneak into the Big 12 championship, maybe.
Yeah. Bro, I hate that the Oklahoma State game is so early this season
Man,
because it's
that-
usually like the second to last game of the season.
It used to be their last
Last
game,
game,
like,
right.
it used to be the Thanksgiving weekend.
It's
Oh,
just so
I wonder what
weird that it's so early, and, well, it isn't early in the season, but it's in the month of November,
earlier.
but it's the 1st week of November. I mean, that's what, week 10? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of ball to play. So, this idea was tossed up by another podcast, but how far-fetched is it to have Oklahoma make the playoff? I mean, because think about it. They're gonna have more talent on this team than every team they face but one,
So,
and we've seen weird stuff happen in the Texas-Oklahoma game. We could
yeah,
have Texas could underachieve, and Oklahoma could
yeah.
go 12-0.
Well, this is what I was kinda saying earlier, like, this team might look good on paper,
Mhm.
but I just don't like, if they sneak their way in, man, I just don't see how they could be successful, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely possible just because of their schedule. And I mean, dude, look at all they gotta do is sneak by Texas, you know?
Yeah,
So
and then they have a
it
pretty easy path.
but
I
then
mean,
again, there are those sneaky games in the Big 12 that you just don't expect that you're
mhm,
like, holy crap, how did they beat them? You know, and I think for them
yeah,
it's that Kansas game and that Oklahoma State game. I mean, playing
yeah.
at Stillwater is always tough, but those two games to me, they better be careful. And Dylan,
Oh,
if Dylan Gabriel ain't ready to go, Jackson Arnold's going to have to, be slinging it around out there because they like throwing it 30 times a game.
yeah. All right. Now, moving on to the winners of the Big 12 last year, the Kansas State Wildcats over under 7.5. They opened the season with Southeast Missouri at home, Troy at home. They play an SEC team at Missouri in week 3, UCF at home week 4, off week really early in the season, and then they rattle off 8 games in a row at Oklahoma State, at Texas Tech,
Oof.
TCU at home, Houston at home, at Texas, Baylor at home, at Kansas, and they end the season with Iowa State at home. Over under 7.5. Wilbur, where you going?
This is a tough football schedule.
Especially once
And
you get off that bye week.
yes, dude. I think they can maybe that Missouri game's gonna be tough. I mean,
Mhm,
Missouri's gonna be sneaky good. Um, they could possibly be 3-1, maybe 4-0 going into that bye week.
mhm.
Um, God, dude, that is a tough stretch of games. For me, for them, I'm gonna go over, but barely, like 8 wins. Maybe I would not tell anybody to bet this game at all. Don't. I would never listen to
No.
me, but I'm gonna go over, but barely over.
So you got them
Just
going
barely.
8-4.
Yeah, 8-4.
Well, do you steal my notes for this show,
No, dude.
Dad? I have Kansas State going over too. I said this is a really good number for this team. 8-4 is what I'm thinking they end up in 23. That's on my notes. They have really big games, like you were saying. I think the Missouri game is kind of the hinge game for this team. And then, of course, you got that 3-game stretch when you get off the bye week at Oklahoma State, at Texas Tech, and then TCU at home. And then you still have to play Texas. You still have to play Baylor. You still have to play Kansas. So, I mean, if,
They could easily go 7-5, dude.
yeah, they could easily go 7-5, but just out of those 3 games that I named, so out of those 7 games that I named, they only have to win 3 of them to go 8-4 if you take care of business against the rest of your teams. So,
Yep.
man, they do have quarterback Will Howard returning. He played a lot last year because Adrian Martinez was hurt. So that's really good. They do have their entire offensive line is coming back. I mean, that's massive to have your entire offensive line, your quarterback that led you to the Big 12 championships coming back. They did lose Deuce Vaughn, their small little 5'5" guy in the backfield. But they get Trayshawn Ward, running back from FSU, came in and hit the portal. So I think he'll be able to make a difference.
Did you
I
see
think
the
they're going to be able to
video?
ground a pound.
Did you see the video of him running at Dallas's training camp? They said he looked like a fan running out there and stealing the football.
Well, he's the same height as Emily. So like
Yeah.
I was thinking about Emily, and it's like, oh my gosh, if she's like he is her height running against guys that are like 6'8", like
Yeah.
360 pounds, dude. But
That's
he's a little baller though. I mean, he's
he
awesome.
plays tough. He plays physical, man. He Kansas State's always been kind of physical though, man.
Yeah,
Ever since like they've always been like that.
yeah,
Tough up front.
and I think they're a direct representation of their head coach, Chris Kleiman. I mean, I think he's a real hard nosed guy, and I think they're gonna portray that out on the field this year. I think they're gonna try to run it down people's throats with their quarterback, with their running back, really bank on their offensive line, kind of wheeling and dealing and just putting people's faces in the dirt and just winning ball games the old way of doing it. Now, this team kind of had a weird end to the season. The TCU Horned Frogs, man, they went 13-1, or yeah, no, 13-2 with the national championship loss.
Yeah.
Yep, in 2022, got blown out by Georgia, kind of like everyone was expecting. They won a lot of close games last year. They're over under for 23, 7.5. Man, I think that Vegas is some of the smartest people in the world because they know right where to put these numbers. I mean, this is such a great line, but we've had 3 overs so far, and I'm giving us 4. I'm going over with TCU just because of their schedule, which we can get in a second whenever you give us your reasons.
So for me, I'm also an over for them.
Mhm.
Um, they brought back a bunch of players on defense, dude.
Yes.
So they got the portal. They for their a lot of their offensive guys, they're gonna have to step up. Here's my thing about them. Can their luck keep going, right? They won a bunch of games last year that were kind of crazy. They had a bunch of comebacks. They won a bunch of one possession games. Can they keep that going? Um, Man, they got a bunch of big games. If you want to go through their schedule, I love that Colorado game right off the bat.
That's
All
gonna be a
eyes
really
will
fun
be yes, all a bunch of eyes will be on that game just because of Colorado, really.
Yeah. So I mean, they open up with Colorado. They get Nichols at home week 2. They're at Houston. They get SMU at home week 4. The battle for the Iron Skillet, I think, is the name of that rivalry. West Virginia at home at Iowa State. They get BYU at home at Kansas State off week at probably about a perfect time. At Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, at Oklahoma. Looking at the start of this schedule, I love it for TCU. I think they're more talented than every team up until week 8. You could argue between them and Kansas State. They played 2 really great games last year. With this being at 7.5, dude, I think they could start 7-0 and then lose their last 5 games and go under. But I mean, you could genuinely, you could bet the over and be 7-5, and just because of the way that TCU could have played, you could be sitting there heading into week 8 saying, I don't think this ticket's going to cash. Kind of like it was with Syracuse last year whenever they started 6-0 and they finished 6-6.
I,
Like you
I
could
think
kind of have that situation here. You could have TCU start 7-0, get their teeth kicked in by Kansas, get their teeth kicked in by Texas Tech, and then you have to play Texas, you have to play Baylor, and you have to play Oklahoma. I think this over hinges on the Baylor game because
yeah, I was about to
I think
say,
they're
dude,
going
this
8-4, And I
this
think it's
Baylor
I think it's going to
that
hinge on
Baylor
that.
game is that Baylor game's so important, man. Because I mean, if you've just lost 3 games in a row, can you get the team up and play this game?
Yeah.
And are they going to be beat up because they just played 8 straight games and
Yeah. And then they got the
they get a
off.
bye week, and then if you lose 3 straight, man, can you motivate them and get them up and ready?
Yeah.
That'll be kind of tough for the coaches. I think they can. It's definitely possible, but yeah, I agree with you. This Baylor game's going to be huge for them to hit the over.
And I mean, I think Sonny Dykes and I think new offensive coordinator Kendall Briles, who came from Arkansas, I think they're really smart offensive minds. I think they're both really good coaches. So I think they could maybe be able to motivate the team and kind of get them going. But
Yeah.
dude, I mean, this is just such a good number at 7.5. This is one that I really wouldn't touch if I was betting it. But
No,
I
me
mean,
neither.
we have to pick the under or the over. And heck, I'm going with the Horned Frogs for my boy Jonathan Pelham, huge Horned Frog guy. So I'm going with the over. Heading out west in the state of Texas, furthest team west in that state, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Kind of everyone's dark horse coming into this year, man. Everyone's really high on them, kind of like they were on Kansas State last season, over under 7.5. Open the season at Wyoming in a beautiful city of Laramie. Then they get Oregon at home. That's a really fun game. I mean, I don't know what the over under for that game's going to be, but it's going to be above 75.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be a high scoring game. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. That'll be a game you can kind of see where both teams are at early on in the
Yes.
season.
Yes.
Little
And
challenge
then
for both teams.
week 3, Tarleton State, W. At West Virginia, week 4. That team might not have quit by then. Houston at Baylor, Kansas State at BYU, off week TCU at Kansas State, at Kansas, UCF at Texas. This was a team we were talking about. Well, their schedule does them no favors. They only have back-to-back home games in week 2 and week 3. Every other game is flip-flopping home and road, home and road. And man, their defense was bad last season. I think it's going to be bad this season. I don't see how you can lose a top 10 pick. And I think his name was Tyree Wilson, their defensive end that got drafted. I don't see how you could lose him and get better on the defensive side of the ball. I think Tyler Shuck at quarterback, though, could be a highlight for him. But I'm going under our first under of the show, Texas Tech. And I think it's
S-
going to hinge on that Oregon game.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: the coaching staff, the writers, everybody that covers Texas Tech, everybody feels like this is a better Texas Tech defense.
And
They all feel
I'm
like it.
going under because everyone's so hyped on them. I mean,
Yeah,
there's too much hype.
they feel like they're 13 and a half point favorites. Like they feel like they're 13 and a half point better than last year. So like that's like them improving by like 3 wins. So
Dude.
they think they're gonna win like 9 or 10 games. The coaching staff and them do. Um 8 straight weeks with a game, dude. That is gonna be
That's
tough. I don't care
tough.
who you're playing. And then you got 6 true road games.
Mm-hmm.
Off and on. But I'm gonna hit the over right here. I believe in these guys. I believe in the hype. Their schedule's a little easy, man. I mean, they could lose that Oregon game and they'll knock off probably 4 wins in a row.
Yeah, they
Probably
could.
lose to Kansas State. They could go into BYU and win, then go in the bye week. And
Dude,
then all you got is 2 losses going into the bye week. Dude, you can win. You can easily beat Kansas and UCF.
I
And then
mean,
you need to
dude, just think about this. You have to open, well, you don't open up the season. Week 2, Oregon, super physical team. Then you
Yeah.
kind of have some cupcake. Well, no, you don't have cupcakes. You have easier teams to play in West Virginia and Houston. Then you have Baylor, who's known to be a very, very physical team. Then the following week, you come home, you play Kansas State, very, very physical team. And
Yeah.
then you go on the road to BYU, 8 straight game, who is an extremely physical team with a bunch of 23, 25-year-olds who have 3 kids and a mortgage. Grown men. Grown men. So, I mean, that's why I think Texas Tech's going under, just because they're going to have to play so many physical teams in a row. And with that defense, if it is, even if it's just a little bit better, that's so much physical that you're going to have to be dealing with. And then you do have the off week, but then the week after that, you're having to deal with TCU, who's going to be
I
kind of physical again.
I think the BYU game and the TCU game are going to be the key to
The
going
hinge
over.
games.
I
Yeah.
think they need to win. They need to win both those games because then I think
Yes.
you can beat Kansas and UCF.
Yes. But man, I'm going under. You're going over. Still staying in the state of Texas. Next team, the Baylor Bears. Man, this team had a really big 2021. They won the conference, and then 2022 was kind of a down year. I mean, but they are Baylor, so you really can't expect that much from them just from the history of their program. They open up with Texas State. They open up with Utah week 2. I don't know who the LIU Sharks are. That like almost sounds like a fake team when you play NCAA 14 that you would just get on a random week. I mean, oh my gosh, who are those
The
guys?
Sharks.
I mean, and then week 4, Texas at home. They're at UCF. Texas Tech, they're off. They're at Cincinnati. Iowa, they have Iowa State at home, Houston at home, at Kansas State, at TCU, West Virginia. I think this is kind of a grueling first 6 games. I mean, with Utah, Texas, and Texas Tech all in the first 6 games. I th- I think I'm gonna have to go under the 7.5
Hey,
for Baylor,
bro,
dude.
I think we got the same stuff, dude. I'm the under as well.
It's because you're reading off of my Google Doc. I am you hacked my Google Doc.
I did. I did the opposite last time because I didn't want us to agree. Oh man, I'm under as well, man. I don't think Baylor's going to win more than 6 games on this schedule.
I mean,
A little too tough. You got Utah as a non-conference. You got Texas in the first month, then you got Texas Tech, and you're going to catch Iowa State with probably all their players coming back. I
mhm.
mean, I think, man, and Kansas State, and you got TCU on the schedule, dude. It's going to be tough, man. And who knows? West Virginia might be inspired by then to play a game of football by then. So
There's no
who
telling, dude.
knows?
I mean, because you have to think they won't be favored in the Utah game. They won't be favored in the Texas game. They might be a slight favorite in the Texas Tech game, but I have them losing that game. That's 3. I have them losing the Kansas State game. That's 4. I would think they would lose the TCU game. That's 5. And they could easily slip up, kind of like you were saying, against Iowa State. They could slip up against West Virginia. They could
Slip up
slip up
against.
against UCF.
Yeah, dude, going to Orlando, bro. That place ain't no joke.
Super early in the year.
It's gonna be hot and humid.
They could have the bounce house really going. I mean,
Yeah,
goodness gracious. I mean, which it sucks for Baylor because I think they could be so good. And I think that Dave Aranda's a really good coach. I mean, I mean, I would take him at Auburn because I think that he's that good. He's just at a program that really doesn't recruit that well, but I think he's a great coach. I just think he's not going to have a great year
yep.
at Baylor. We both got him going under. Now we got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I can get their schedule pulled up.
Ooh.
6.5 wins. Man, well, the over under is 6.5. Man, this team, you really like Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I'm a
You've always kind of been fascinated with their stadium, with their whole branding, with their facilities. So, like,
yeah, dude. They
what is it about them that like you really kind of like?
um I, I I can't really answer that, dude. I don't know what it is about them that just sparks my attention, dude. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of everything. I've gotten a chance to. There's this YouTube channel I follow, and this dude tours all these facilities, man. And Oklahoma State really cares about their athletics, and
Mm-hmm.
they pour a lot of money into it, man. They got this guy. He was big in the oil industry way back when, and he
Keep Boone
donated
Pickett.
a lot of money to Oklahoma State.
I think it was like
W
100 mil
Yes,
or more.
well in the 100 mil, and, dude, they do a good job with their uniforms. I love their color scheme their color scheme. I love their theme. I love
Yeah.
their stadium. I love how close it is to the players. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the fans are right there on top of you.
They're
Um,
slapping them big old pokes on the pad.
yeah, and how they designed everything is just so unique to me. It's just
Mm-hmm.
Western kind of theme. I love Mike Gundy.
They
You know,
have an
I'm a
awesome
man.
mascot.
I'm a man. You go
I,
after me. I'm 40.
I'm for.
yeah. Yeah, dude. And he has the mullet.
Oh
Man, dude,
yeah,
he's just looks like he's from out there, man. Looks like he's from Alabama a little bit, but
kinda. All
but
right,
dude, I'm
six and a
going
half over under. I
I'm
got
going the over. Got Alan Bowman at quarterback, the Michigan
yeah,
transfer. I think he's gonna
yeah.
come in and play well. I got them going over. I think people have been kind of a little down on Oklahoma State for some reason, but they're going. Defense is going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Offense is not going to miss a beat. I don't think losing their transfer. He left for Ole Miss,
Spencer
so
Sanders.
yeah, Spencer Sanders. So I think Allen Bowman will come in and be successful. So I'm gonna hit the over.
I mean, kind of looking at their schedule, they got Central Arkansas at home. They're at Arizona State. That'll be on the pick'ems.
Yeah,
South Alabama at Iowa State. Off week pretty early. They're gonna have to rattle off 8 games in a row too. That's kind of concerning. Kansas State at home, Kansas at home, at West Virginia, Cincinnati at home, Oklahoma at home, at UCF, at Houston, BYU at home. They close the year out with those 3 newcomers. They play all 4 of the newcomers to the Big 12. They also play Kansas. They also play West Virginia. They also play Iowa State, South Alabama. And I mean, their schedule's soft. So simply because their schedule is so soft and their over under is only 6.5, give me the over.
yeah,
You
dude. I think
stole my
this is an
man,
easy
Will.
over.
You stole my stuff, dude. I'm telling you, you're reading off my Google Doc.
This is an easy one, man. And when I saw this at 6.5, dude, I was like, man, that's easy over. I didn't even
Yeah,
have to know anything about them to know
yeah,
they're gonna win more than 6 games.
yeah. It's a super popular, not trendy, but I mean, I'm surprised this number has stayed at 6.5 with how popular this
Now,
bet is. I mean,
if it
because
goes up to 7.5, that's where I'd stay away from it.
yeah, but if I was a betting man, I would hammer. I mean, I would hammer the 6.5.
The
Man,
mortgage.
the mortgage. Put the mortgage on it. Please don't put the mortgage on anything. Man, now we're kind of getting down into the 6.5s, the 5.5s. Kansas, man.
Mhm.
Kansas last year was a phenomenal story. Lance Leipold's second year there. This will be his third year. Their over under is 6.5 for this season. Man, I think I'm gonna go under with
Oh my
Kansas. I'm going under with Kansas. Barely,
god.
barely. Like 6 wins. They might get 7, maybe, but I'm going Kansas. They do return Jalen Daniels. I'm so mad that I did not draft him as my
Yeah, I'm mad
backup.
too. I'm gonna
I'm
switch.
You can't switch. It's too
If
late.
If
It's
Dylan
too late.
Gabriel doesn't play, I get Jaden Daniels. That's
No,
what we're
you
gonna do.
don't. You're gonna have to deal with Dylan Gabriel.
You
But
know
I
what,
mean,
dude? Since you're going under, I'm going over because I was under as well, but I'm going over because you're
do
under. I'm
it.
tired of you
Do it.
copying it. I'm going over. Official. Over.
Over. So I mean, they open up with the Missouri State Bears. Great name. The Illinois Fighting Illini at home. They are at Nevada. That's weird that they're going to
That Illinois
Nevada.
games where we're going to make it right there, baby. We're going to beat
Gom,
them, and we're going to
gom.
get to 7 because of that game.
Just because of that game, and then they get Brigham Young at home. They're at Texas, UCF at home, at Oklahoma State off week, at Oklahoma at home, at Iowa State, Texas Tech at home, Kansas State at home, at
Oh, God.
Cincinnati. I
I don't know
mean,
where I'm going to get 7 wins, but we're going to get it, baby. I
I
promise you
mean,
that.
it all comes down to that Illinois game. I mean, it truly does because you have to think that Missouri State's a win. You have to think that Nevada's a win. They
If they can
could.
start 4-0, dude, we can do it.
I definitely think if they can start 4-0, they definitely can. So it's really
There's
the
3.
Illinois game and it's the BYU game, and then that they could beat UCF at home. They
If
could
they
beat
can
they could beat Oklahoma State. That
if
they
they
could
can
beat.
find a pass rush this year and they can get their defense going, they're going to be
Hmm.
fine. It's
Yeah.
their offense is going to be electric. They're going to be in some high scoring games.
Yes.
Can their
Yes.
defense make somebody punt this year? That's going to be in some of these games, like the UCF game, the Iowa State game. I think they beat Cincinnati's going to be terrible. They're going to beat them.
Terrible. Just terrible. Man, I am so glad that you finally stopped looking at my sheet and you went
Well, I
over.
wanted to, it gets a little boring if we're both all together.
Yeah. We have to switch stuff up, man. Now, I think this is the first newcomer that we've talked about. Gus Malzahn and the
Oh, the
UFC
Knights,
Knights. Man, I'm super excited that they're finally in the P5 so all of their fans can shut up.
the national
And
champs,
they
baby.
2017 national champs, my butt. I mean, kind of looking at their schedule, Kent State at home. They're at Boise State. That'll be a fun game. Villanova at home. I'm surprised Villanova even has a football team. At Kansas State,
Terrible.
Baylor at home, at Kansas off week, at Oklahoma, West Virginia at home, at Cincinnati, Oklahoma State at home, at Texas Tech, and Houston at home. Over under 6.5. UCF Golden Knights. Will, please be the opposite of me. Where are you going?
All right, dude. So UCF wants to be a part of the Big Three in Florida. Well, not this year, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to be under, because their defense is not going to be very good. This is not the AAC anymore, guys. This is the Big 12.
This is
They
big boy
don't have a
ball.
they don't have a quarterback. So, I mean, he's a wide receiver playing quarterback pretty much. So, can he develop? I see this being a 6-6 team. Maybe the second best team of the newcomers, I think. But I'm going under for the Gus Malzahn UCF Knights at 6-6.
Even though I hate that you're copying me, I love the under for all the reasons that you said. I hate their schedule. They don't play back-to-back home games the whole year.
Yeah.
The whole year they're just flip-flopping back and forth, and with all of that travel,
That catches up with you eventually. I mean, I
yes,
don't
dude.
care if you are in your early 20s, 19, 20. I don't care, dude. You get to these games in November, you're going to be tired.
I mean, that's just a ton of travel. I mean, so much like think look, they have to go to Oklahoma, then they have to go to Cincinnati 2 weeks later, then 2 weeks later they have to go to Texas Tech, and they have to play football games between all of those. And
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that's just a lot on your body, and it's their first year coming in playing big boy ball. I think they're under as well. And man, we're going to kind of fly through these last couple teams. Iowa State Cyclones over under 5.5. What you thinking with them, Will?
If they're 5.5,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go under.
Under 5.5. I think I'm
Just
going under 5.5 too, just because of all the
yeah,
scandals and the cheating stuff with the
uncertainty.
gambling. Well,
Yeah,
it
the
isn't cheating; it's just gambling.
uncertainty of their team kind of right now. I don't know who's going to play what. They're going to lose some games early. They probably shouldn't, but we'll see.
All right, and just kind of running through these last ones here pretty quick because they're all pretty low, and I think we're gonna probably be the same with all them too. The Cincinnati Bearcats over under
Under,
5.5. I think I'm
under.
going under
They're going to
with
be
them
terrible.
too, dude. I mean,
Feel bad for Emory Jones, kind of ending his college career there. Roster is just a little down. It's the worst roster they've had in a long time, man.
a very long time. I mean,
Uh,
because so many people have either left in the portal or so many people have been drafted
they
from
got some
that
NIL
2021.
issues going
Yeah.
on, so
And
that's going to affect them.
I don't really like Scott Satterfield as a coach. I mean, I probably just have a sour taste in my mouth from watching him at up at Louisville. But I mean, I just don't think he's a great coach. I mean, he has to be good because he's a college football coach, but I mean, I'm just not high on Cincinnati, and this is kind of a popular phrase that's going around. All of these teams that are coming up, they are going to take the check to be in the Big Boy Conference, and when you take the check, you take the losses. So I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a kind of running theme for a couple of years for these AAC teams that have joined the Big 12. Moving on, West Virginia Mountaineers over under 5.5. I'm going under. I think this team's going to quit. I think that Neil Brown's going to be fired before the month of November. He probably should have been fired after last season, but they got a new athletic director in, and he decided to keep him, which was kind of a shock to me. I mean, I think they could be 3-9. I think they could be 4-8. They haven't recruited well, haven't hit the portal well. I'm going under.
I'm going under as well. I don't think they're going to be very good. Their quarterback position kind of scares me a little bit. Their
Mm-hmm.
offense, I'm just not sure, man. Neil Brown, the coaching situation scares me. Everybody keeps talking about how the team's going to give up, man. I just if you're hearing that already, God dang, we're not even playing a game yet.
That's a
Uh,
bad sign.
this could get ugly for him.
I mean, which stinks because I think West Virginia is one of the most underrated brands in all of
They're
college
great,
football.
great
I
college
mean,
football town.
dude,
They love it up there.
I would love to go to Morgantown. I would love to spend a weekend there. I would love to be able to watch a big home game there, listen to them sing Country Roads at the end of the game after a big win. I mean, goodness gracious, that would be
I just get back to the when
fantastic.
Geno Smith and Pat White were there, man.
Yeah.
Those guys,
But
and it was
but I
electric.
mean, that was when they were in the Big East. They fit in the Big East. And th- I mean,
They're not a P5 school, dude.
well, I think they are. I think they can be. I just think they're in the
Small
wrong
P5,
conference. I mean,
small. They maybe need to go join the ACC.
I mean, they are more of an ACC school. I mean, they just kind of fit that vibe.
Or let's bring the Big East back.
Hey, bring it back. All right. Two last teams with the lowest win totals in the conference. BYU Cougars over under 4.5. I love this.
I'm gonna
I'm
go
going
over.
over.
God,
I'm going over, baby.
I'm going over. I think they're gonna be the best newcomer in the league
By
Uh,
far.
I think they're going to be really good. Um, coaches pronounce his name for me. Katina Sataki.
I'm blanking right now. His name is Kalani Sataki.
I said
Yes.
Katina.
Katina, boy,
Yes.
is Kalani Sataki.
Kalani Sataki. Yeah, I knew it was a weird name. I knew I got his last name right. He's a pretty good coach. He's going to have them ready to go. They've always played a tough schedule, being an independent.
Yes.
So they'll come in and surprise some people, and I'm gonna hit the over.
I'm going over as well. I think if their defense can kind of step up, that'll help them win some ball games. I mean, kind of like I was talking about earlier, they have a bunch of grown men that are on the offensive line, 23 to 25, 26 years old, 2, 3 kids and a mortgage. I mean, I think they're going to be playing hard, and they got Keaton Slovis replacing Jaron Hall at quarterback, transferring in former Pitt and USC quarterback. And just hearing from the reports that were coming out from spring, he kind of looks like he's back to his old self. I don't think he really fit at Pitt last year. I
Yeah.
think he didn't enjoy playing under Pat Narduzzi. And so I think if he can stay healthy, I think they're going to have good quarterback play. I think they're going to be able to run the ball behind that offensive line.
Hey, this is the college football experience, and they have one of the best like sceneries
Oh, it's
around the stadium
beautiful.
that you can see, dude.
Dude,
That's
I
that's
can't
one of
wait to go
those.
there.
Yeah, that's one of those stadiums, man. I can't wait to go see, and I want to go there when the snow just fell, so I can see all
Ooh,
the snow in the mountains too.
that's that's going to be beautiful.
Mm.
I think just because it's such a long way from Georgia, I think that would have to be like whenever like we could catch like a Utah game and we could catch a BYU game in the same day because I think they're only like an hour and a half from each other.
Yeah, that'd have to be one of those games, just so you could get both of them in
Yeah, so you could knock
one
them
go round.
out. Man, the last team and what I think is going to be the worst team in the Big 12 this year, Houston over under 4.5. I already know what you're going to do. You already know what I'm going to do. Going under.
Under, they're gonna be
Under.
terrible. Dana Holgerson's gonna get fired this year,
Which
so
is sad.
yeah,
I
he could
mean,
be an offense coordinator somewhere.
yeah, I could see him. I could just see him retiring.
He could, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
they lose Clayton Tune. They lose a running back. I can't remember the running back's name. So they lose lots of production. They have a new OC because Shannon Dawson left to go to Miami, and kind of like we
Remember,
touched
he
on,
he left West Virginia to go there, and he hadn't had much success there.
dude.
He had way more
He
success at
kind of
West
had West
Virginia.
Virginia rolling.
He did, man. He had Will Greer there, had a
Yeah.
good quarterback, had him rolling a little bit. They were way more competitive than they are now.
Oh, they were a lot more competitive than they were now. But we're both going under for the Houston Cougars in 2023. Man, I am excited that we were able to break down the Big 12. I think they could be one of the most
I believe it.
intriguing and fun conferences to watch. Them and the Pac-12 are going to have kind of the most parity, I think, in all of college football. While the other conferences are kind of top heavy, I think these are going to be an absolute blast to watch. I think we're going to break down the Big Ten and the SEC next week, maybe. We might do 2 shows, possibly. We'll just have to see so we can really get rolling before football season. It's just right around the corner. Well, I had fun tonight, dude.
Yeah, that was fun. Even though we said a lot of the same stuff,
Hey,
agreed most of
it
the time.
hey, two good minds think alike. I don't remember that phrase. I don't remember. I'm freaking
two,
tired.
yeah, two great minds think alike.
Oh, yep. That's it right there. That's why you're the teacher. That's why you're the teacher. All right, everyone. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. We are the College Football Experience. This is the Extra Point Podcast. I am Gus. That is Will. Will, any last words before
Nah,
we
man, you
sign
guys
off?
follow us on subscribe on YouTube, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We're doing pretty well on TikTok. I'm trying to, make some funny TikToks, have try to have fun with it or
Oh, yeah.
whatever. So appreciate you guys, appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
See you.